Hello, welcome to Cockeyed and Curious. Today I'm going to talk about Aeon's End. Today I'm going to talk about Aeon's End. I don't know how to pronounce the game. I read books. I read books. I don't really talk to people. That's why I'm alone in my apartment, talking to a camera, alone, playing this game as a one-player game. So I'm going to pretend that I have two people, two different player boards set up. So rather than just play alone, I'm going to be two roles. So it's like I have my own little partner who happens to be myself. Many forms of activity work pretty well alone. And this game, Aeon, Aeon's End, is one of those. It's a fun game. So back in the day, I got it on the Dominion kick. It was my favorite game. I played it a bunch. I was pretty good at it at the time, especially before some of the newer expansions have come on the scene. Thinking back to maybe Prosperity Days, Cornucopia, maybe Hinterlands was about when I started to fade away a little bit. I played a lot of the game in person and did a good amount of the isotropic.org website, which was an amazing implementation, and I miss it. Deck building is a mechanic I really enjoy. The concept of trying to build an engine while fine-tune your deck so that you increase the odds of having the best sort of hand draw. That whole aspect of gaming is something I enjoy immensely. And so the part that made me always cling to the online version of games like Dominion is that all the shuffling can drive you mad. It's just you destroy the cards, it's kind of mundane and boring. And so the fact that this game here is a deck builder, but you don't actually ever shuffle your deck is amazing. I love that you just play the cards, you think about the order that you want to discard them, you think about when you gain cards and where they'll end up, whether discard or some cards actually go on top of your deck. And some may even go to your hand. I'm not as familiar with all the cards yet, so I'm speculating there. But the fact that you just basically flip your discard and it becomes your draw pile, that is amazing. There's still this turn order deck where you have to shuffle cards to determine who plays when. So that aspect is still random, but you're basically just doing something like this for a short period of time and then flipping cards out as needed, shuffling whenever you deplete the small little set of cards. So there is some shuffling, but it's so trivial that it's not a big deal, and that could also be set up via an app very easily. The variable kingdom for this game, you pick which sets of cards you're going to use each time through a randomization process. There's different monsters that you take on. I'm going to be taking on this creature that here's me not knowing how to speak again. The carapace, this hideous monster. It's sort of praying mantis slash scorpion. The base game comes with 7 different characters. They each have their own flavor in terms of a design, some extra text on the back. Their actual starting cards in terms of their hand as well as discard are slightly varied, and then each of the breaches into which you place spells start in different positions. At least one of these characters also only has 3 breaches rather than 4. On the back of the cards there's a little bit of flavor text. It is some of the worst writing you'll see in quite a while, but it does give you a thematic difference for each of the characters should you want to envision yourself embodying these people as they wage war against these quite out of control nemesises. For example, this is the Prince of Gluttons, which is so gluttonous that this creature will actually attack your supply decks, and that's essentially how you lose, is that you eventually run out of cards, which causes the endgame trigger. So I've been setting up Aeon's End before I play the game. I set it up and kind of reset whenever I finish. So it's been sitting out for a couple days, and all I want to do right now is be playing that game. I've been thinking about it. This is a game I've been enjoying thoroughly for the last few weeks because it's quick paced. You can play in about 30 minutes. It's not too complicated, but there's an abundance of options. Every time you play, you can create a different set of cards which you can purchase using the currency in the game called Ether. And because the cards change each game, the strategy underlying what you choose to do also varies. So the combination of the variable
supply deck and the characters you choose, as well as the count of characters, influences the way that the game unfolds. The base game also includes 4 different nemesises, and each of those have a different set of rules and strategies that you need to employ to defeat them. Across the board, what I like about the different nemesises, and this is the commonality of them, is that they have power cards which unfold over time, and sometimes there's a way to prevent the power by discarding cards, taking damage, or spending ether to prevent a future attack rather than purchasing cards or charging your characters up to use their special abilities. So I like the balance there. There's also minions that they can bring out, then you can fight the minion rather than the actual nemesis. So you're dividing where you're concentrating your damage. And then there's just these brutal attacks that just happen immediately on the nemesis' turn as well. So each nemesis unfolds via varying paths, and you create a deck of cards for the nemesis using these basic cards that each nemesis shares, and depending on the player count, you may or may not see all of the different cards on a given game. And I imagine as you add expansions, it probably provides more of these base cards so that every game, in terms of how the nemesis may attack you through minions or the power cards or straight up attacks, will vary probably considerably. Each nemesis also alters the rules of the game. There's the Rageborn, which has a strike deck, which provides different sorts of extra attacks that occur, but otherwise it's kind of just like the basic base baddie that is tough and you fight, and that's the whole drama there. There's the Carapace Queen that has a separate husk track, and once you add tokens to the husk track, there's different types of damage that can unfold, and ultimately if there's given 13 or more husks in play, then it's an insta-win for the Carapace Queen. So you have to manage this husk track while also navigating the minions and the nemesis's life as a whole. There's another nemesis that eats your supply deck, and so what's cool about that is you start having fewer cards to buy, and if your entire supply vanishes because of your purchases along with this raging monstrosity that's just eating the supply up, devouring the supply, then you lose the game. So you have to be very careful and judicious about what cards you buy. And then there's the Crooked Mask, which actually forces you to shuffle your deck while also adding these extra cards to your deck that are one and done, so that then return to its supply from which it can use to assault you. And so that breaks up the mechanic of the game as well, because suddenly you can't pre-plan your deck as much through the discard order and buying order. So that's a fun little variation to the game. And I look forward to seeing what other nemesis exists in the various expansions, because there's been many, and there's actually a Kickstarter that should be delivering its goods in the next couple months. So I did participate in that Kickstarter, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this wave, as well as some of the past waves of expansions, provides. So things I like about the game are that I can set it up and just have it over on the side, and it generally takes about 30 minutes to play, at least by myself, controlling 2 characters. So as I conclude a game, I can put away the components, or I can reset the game, which involves randomizing out the supply, picking which of the nemesises you want to fight. I randomize which characters I use, so you can pick the characters based on the nemesis or whatever logic you want to use. I find that the pure random is going to make possibly for a harder game because you're not controlling your supplies to any degree. My general idea is that if I can't beat a nemesis on the second or third try, then I'll swap a card or 2 from the supply or swap a character. And again, I haven't gotten there yet. I've only gone through each of the nemesises once to beat them on the basic difficulty, and that went fine, and now I'm trying on the harder difficulty. I've been beat by the Carapace Queen once. In mid-game right now, I'm fighting for the second time. But these are just thoughts I've had about what I would do if I were to lose multiple times. And so that's something that's cool about the game, is like, I'm out and about doing things and I think about the game. And I think that's why I like when I finish the game, if I know I'm going to play it again as my next game, I'll go ahead and set up the board, get everything ready, randomize the supply deck, get my characters. And that way I can just, when I have 30 minutes or so, I can just sit down, bang out a game, and then again decide whether or not I want to put it away or refresh it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm out here and it's
It's pretty and all, but I wish I was playing Aeon Z.
I haven't yet played this game with another person, so I can't really speak to the cooperative aspect, but I do think it would be an interesting game to discuss, to take on roles on how you're going to collect cards and strategize to be as efficient as possible. So I look forward to the camaraderie. I can see some high fives being delivered as you take down the nemesis. The game definitely has a tension. At the end, there's often a case where you're just praying that the turn order deck doesn't reveal that the nemesis is going to be up. Because if the nemesis comes up, you're probably dead, but if you can get one of your player cards out, then you might win. And so that's kind of, some of these games at the end have been almost a coin toss. And I can see that being a detriment for some, but I love the tension. You've been playing this game, maybe not as efficiently as possible, but you're doing your damn best. And then it comes down to, oh my God, this could work, this could work, this could work, or not. Which is much better than when you're just annihilating a nemesis or being annihilated. It's that tension of this could or could not pan out the way I want it to that keeps me intrigued. So definitely an A plus in that regard for this game.